Welcome everyone, whether you are watching from Twitch or from YouTube, welcome. If you read the title, this should be the last, or at least the title on Twitch, this should be the last time I stream for like a week or so. Excuse me. Had to turn off that TV, but yes! I was planning on going and visiting my girlfriend later this week, but we decided for me to come a little bit earlier because we rarely do get to see each other, and this might be the last time that I'm not really working at a job for a while. I don't know, things are still up in the air, so I thought it was fitting to go a few days earlier while I could. So, I'm streaming today, at the very least. I told her that if I was going to come early, I would at least want to stream one time this week. And I was kind of hyped to play Mystery, Sherlock Holmes game. We got to have our Resident Evil on Saturday, so I can hold off on that. Even though I was really excited to play more of that, I would have rather played this tonight and then went instead of waiting till Tuesday. So we're going to be streaming this tonight. I almost streamed Mortal Kombat tonight, but I wanted to record some Mortal Kombat stuff. That way when I'm down there and she's working, I can... And I gotta be there while she's working. I can edit some of the videos for the YouTube channel. So I recorded that today and decided that streaming at least some Mystery Monday would be fun before going down. So that is the plan. I am hoping to stream until about like midnight. Maybe a little bit more. We'll see kind of where we get to. And yeah, so just stick around. And if you don't want to wait until I start playing the game, check below in the YouTube description. I should have put timestamps by this point. And yeah. So I'll see you guys soon. Alright everybody, we are about to start. Let's get this switched over. I'm noticing some drop frames, so the internet looks like it might be having some issues. If we disconnect, it'll happen. It's just going to probably be one of those nights. But I'm not going to try to reconnect it now because I don't think it'll make a difference. Regardless, let's get right into it. I'm trying a new position for the mic and all that, so let's get to some mystery solving, okay? I do have a guide on my phone just in case. I did read that this game will not let you progress. It will not let you progress until you find everything. So it isn't just a tutorial section, it is the entire game. So that's good to know because, sorry, let me readjust this. Because that means that no matter what, we will have what we need before we can even think about progressing. And that's vital to solving this mystery. And I will only look at the guide when I am completely stumped on where to find something. So if I just admit that I just don't know, or I can't seem to find it, maybe it's just a small little detail I missed, that's when I will refer to the guide like I did previously. Other than that, we're going to go full force in trying to solve this. Of course, I know the story, but I do not know how we get there. So let's do this. That was weird. Can we talk to this guy? What's this?
I need something.
Okay.
I need something.
It looks like we're just checking out the exterior area of the hall.
It is a size 7.
Okay, so it's the same size as the other shoe then. Is there anything else I might be missing? I don't think so.
Holmes!
Good day, Lestrade. Your haste deserves comment. One could say that you were right to hurry here, as this case is one of great complexity and challenge. Do not worry. I think that you will manage to get back to your mother before the dinner hour.
In the name of devil, Holmes, you go too far. Do you spy on me now? How do you know I've been to my mother's?
Dear Lestrade, it is really quite simple. I must admit my mind has been stimulated by the main course, which would be this unique case. However, I sometimes enjoy a light snack of the details which surround it. Observe, we are in the middle of the countryside, and you have some fresh yellow pollen, but only on your right sleeve. This implies a recent gift of flowers. It is a gallant gesture, but surely a meeting with the fairer of our species would take place in London.
He's such
the
a
promptness
Chad.
of your arrival, it must have been a bouquet of flowers you took
The
to someone
Victorian
who lives in
London
this area.
Chad.
I presume that you have family living nearby, and I would think only your mother would warrant such an attentive gesture. There is a fresh dab of fat at the corner of
Respects
your
moms.
mouth, as well as on the bit of handkerchief visible from your pocket. This is consistent with a recent meal of a big piece of steak. Who would make a policeman swallow such a substantial meal at this hour, and when a crime has been just committed? It could only be a mother thinking about the hard task awaiting her child.
Well, Holmes, when you explain it like that, it really seems quite simple. Good show. What about this Bromsby murder?
A unique case, as I've already noted, but any supposition would be premature until we consider Dr. Watson's report, as well as your own findings. Miss Lavinia has asked that the esteemed Dr. Watson and I give this case our full attention, though I doubt she is aware of all the implications of this case. Lestrade, you can find the victim inside, and I recommend calling upon his solicitor, Mr. Horace Fowlett. Mrs. Hudson is cooking a roast tomorrow at noon. Why don't you be our guest, and we can share our discoveries? What do you think? Watson and I must take our leave, as there's much to be done at Baker Street. Are you coming, Watson? Let us return to Baker Street. Everything is well noted. Watson, bravo. All of these elements will be a great help to us. As for myself, I have already told you everything that I know, and I can tell you nothing more until I receive answers to the messages I've sent with Wiggins. Now I must return to my experiments to test my theory regarding the substance I found at the scene of the murder. Meanwhile, I suggest you look through the books in the bookcase. Information that you find there might prove very useful in resolving this case.
I have to check 3 books on the shelves. Let's see.
Okay. Did we grab the books? Maybe they're in here? Ballistic science. Popularization of ballistic science. Sorry, guys. At ballistic science by Sherlock Holmes. Thus, it is easier to derive information about the author of a revolver shot if we know that we have had aimed with great care. The situation is ideal if the shooter was in an enclosed space under pressure. A proportion of powder normally adheres to the walls at the level of the shooter's eyes. It is enough to add approximately 15 centimeters to the height of the powder marks to arrive at an approximation of the shooter's stature, accurate to within 1 or 2 centimeters. Okay, so it's basically saying we can use like the powder along the walls to indicate how tall the shooter was, because like they would be like at level. I see what that's trying to say. Categories of footprints by Sherlock Holmes. We can deduce the height and mass of any individual through a simple examination of their footprints left upon the ground. This is possible even should their stride be unremarkable. The stride is often shortened when an individual is moving with great caution to avoid detection either prior or immediately after they have committed a crime. This hypothesis corresponds to almost every case. There are some exceptions. False conclusions are possible when the person who left the footprints comes from a region of the world where the morphology in regards to the feet is unusual. Consider the Chinese tradition imposed upon females born in noble families. They are compelled by such tradition to have their feet bound and squeezed from a tender age till the day of their wedding. Oh my god, that's not legit, is it? Sounds horrible. Holy shit, was there more? This creates a significant disparity between the size of their feet artificially deprived of natural growth and the rest of their body. The probability of encountering such anomalies is remote. However, this work would not be complete if they were not included. The following table indicates the correlation between shoe size and the average stature of people. 1 meter, 90 centimeters, 9.5. Okay. So basically this says what's common. Now, of course, I'm from America. We don't have the same portions. I'm not even sure that this is normal now. I do everything by feet. The same reasoning applies to the stoutness. It is logical to presume that a corpulent man will leave deeper impressions in the soil than a leaner man. You should adapt your interpretation of these footprints to consider the type of stride. Okay. I see. A running man will leave his mark, as we have noted, with a deeper impression at the toes in relation to the entire footprint. In regards to a typical or reduced stride, you need to walk beside the footprints and compare the respective impressions. If yours are deeper, it means that the author of the studied impressions is lighter in weight than you are, and vice versa. Due to the effect of various conditions, such as a lawn, the ground may not be susceptible to this form of analysis. From our experience, when the footprints are barely detectable in grass, as when the ground is scarcely broken, the person's weight is no more than 140 pounds. I think that's all from this book. Study of Tobacco by M. Pollen Explorer. After authorization, this local herb is mixed with tobacco leaves in the manufacture of cigarettes, primarily by the Tripapaqui Company. It is unlikely that this particular blend of tobacco would be found any place other than Brazil or even outside the Amazonian basin, primarily because the calming effect of this tobacco mixture is a significant cause of industrial and agricultural decline in the production of this tobacco. It is common to encounter a Brazilian peasant who indifferently watches a bird steal the tobacco seeds that he has just planted in the ground. Invariably, you will also observe a small pile of the flaky ash, characteristic of this tobacco, near his feet. Okay, I don't think there's any more pages. Let me look at this. Hold on. Footprint size 7. In the smoking room, wet ashy footprints from size 7 shoes. A powdery residue found on the floor frame leading to the ballroom at a height of 1.65 meters. So that corresponds. Our assailant has to have 7 feet shoes if the gunpowder was shown at about that height, give or take. Right? Or did it say that there was a... ...1 or 2 centimeters. So, yeah. So, if I'm reading this right, that means... if our assailant, from the footprints we found, is about 7 foot, it corresponds with this, which is about 1 meter and 65 centimeters, 64 centimeters. And our notes have it to where we found shoes in the smoking room, which were about 7 feet long. Footprints outside, which were about 7 feet. Or 7 centimeters, whatever they do it in. Or 7 inches. I'm stupid, not 7 feet. In the corridor to the kitchen, powdery residue found on the doorframe leading to the ballroom at a height of 165. I think what that means is the door that the girl was at wasn't the one that we found this ash. So then that would mean that the gunfire didn't come from that door, unless like I'm getting mixed around where it did come from that door. We would have to see her shoes for once and her height if we were to deduct whether or not that corresponds with her. Cigarette blood with white flaky ashes. The name is only partially visible. Oh, and the ash from the cigarettes corresponds with that of Brazil. In the corridor to the stairs. Okay, then I think that means the corridor which the girl came through isn't the same one where we have evidence of the gunshot.
Here is information which could be really helpful in our investigation. These Chirapaki cigarettes come from Brazil, and they seem to contain narcotic substances. What might they be?
I need to analyze the evidence found at Sherringford Hall. A piece of white cloth, a small box, various powders, and finally the hair. Let's get to work. I need to analyze the evidence found at Sherringford Hall. A piece of white cloth, a small box, various powders, and finally the hair. Let's get to work. To analyze the nature of these stains, I must first soak the cloth in a solution of soap and water. To analyze the nature of these stains, I must first soak the cloth in a solution of soap and water.
Here it is.
To analyze the nature of these stains, I must first soak the cloth in a solution of soap and water. To analyze now, I shall place this cloth in the solvent. Now, the stains are sticky, but not very oily. Let's examine it under the microscope. A very fine white cotton.
Was that it? Okay.
Let's examine it under the microscope. Let's examine it under the microscope. What would be the reaction if I heated this powder?
Hold on.
Let's examine it under the microscope.
Does that mean... no?
Let's examine it under the microscope. Let's examine it. A man's hair. Let's examine a light feminine perfume. Let's examine it under the microscope. What would be the reaction if I heated this powder? Burnt gunpowder. Let's examine it under the microscope. Let's examine it under the microscope. Let me study this more closely. Let's examine it under the... Let's examine... Let me study this more closely. Let me study this more closely. Let's examine it under the microscope. Let's examine it under the microscope. Let me study this more closely.
The music is very calming.
Let's examine it under the microscope.
No. Damn it.
Let's examine. Let's examine it under the microscope.
Well, it won't let me examine. That's the thing that's concerning me.
Let me study this more. Let me study this more closely. Let's examine it under the microscope.
Okay, I'm confused because, like, it won't let me examine it. Oh, okay. Where's the white cloth?
That is of no use to me. I need to analyze the evidence found at Sherringford Hall. A piece of white cloth, a small box, various powders, and finally the hair. Let's get to work.
Okay. Well, I don't know where the white cloth is. Oh, okay. Okay. That's why. Duh.
A box containing... Let's examine it. These powders are similar. I can see it from the grains. What would be the... It has no effect. Let's mix some water with this powder.
Okay.
Let's... A glue or pasty substance, like starch. It seems to me that we have gathered all of the key elements, Watson.
I gotta remember, I can use a magnifying glass on things in my
summarize
inventory.
our findings. The questions should be answered yes or no and justified by the evidence or testimony received during the investigation.
Okay. Click and decide the answer selected, then click... Okay, to answer a question, first choose yes or no by clicking on it. Then browse your testimonies, reports, and documents on the left page to find the one that contains a justification to the answer. Click your decided answer to select it, then click on the appropriate frame in the quiz page to place your answer. Once you have answered all the questions, close the notebook. You will then be informed if your replies are correct or if it was a mistake. If the later occurs, open the notebook again and rectify your answers. Okay. Yes. Huh? Well, now I'm confused because how do you drag it? What? Okay. I think it's because she was there. She would have obviously seen him. I see. It gives us... Okay. The ashes found in the smoking room are from English cigarettes. No, because they said they're from Brazil. Was the side door going to the kitchen open after the shot? Nope, this will justify something earlier. I think this, because he's saying he heard the lid close after the shot. So that means that the door must have been open, because if Mary didn't move from the other position, and she attested that if she would have saw someone come that way, that she didn't move from that position after the shot, regardless of knowing what happened, and she didn't see anyone come that way after that shot, if that justifies that no one came out of the stairs, and that means someone had to go through the kitchen. So the kitchen door was probably open because he heard the dustbin close. And if it wasn't Mary, it means it had to be someone else, meaning it wasn't shut, it wasn't closed, it had to be open. Yes. Did Miss Lambert choose tablecloths and arrange tables? No. Let's look, Yeah, because he said that Miss Lambert didn't contradict him, so that means that he would have to be one of the options. Suggested this method, so that means she's the other option. So no. Yes, I do. Because, like I was saying earlier, it gave us an idea that if there's certain gunpowder on the height of a wall, then you can kind of indicate the height of the person that shot it because of like where they're aiming. Among the did any others than Colonel Patterson have bad eyesight? I already have a feeling it's this. And then Miss Lambert, wherever she is, said something about the annotations. Particular seating arrangements for the meal and the recital according to the specific concern those individuals I consider to be very important were marked with a circle. Well, the other, I hope, suggested this method of arranging the city. He also advised me that those guests with poor eyesight and hearing should be seated so that the acoustics and the lighting in the room would favor their enjoyment of the recital. So the first category was marked with a point, and the second with a cross. And then let me look at that guest list again. So Montcalf, reference the mystery of the mummy, poor eyesight. Colonel Patterson had poor eyesight. So that's something to note. Specifically made with that. And then the circles were just specific people that were important. Among the interrogated papers, did any others than Colonel Patterson have bad eyesight? Yes. And that's our proof for that.
We must have made an error, Watson. Let's check
Damn.
our answers. The question should be answered yes or no, and justified by the evidence or testimony received during the investigation.
Oh, among the interrogated people, did any others than Colonel Patterson have bad eyesight? Well, we didn't interrogate Montcalf, so that would be no then. Let's check all the other questions. Do you have any idea of the weapon used for the crime? Yes. Notes. Well, I think that's yes, because he told us that based on what he heard. Could the murderer escape through the stairs going to the second floor? No, because she said that she would have saw him coming. The ashes found in the smoking room are from English cigarettes. No. And, I'll check my answer. study of tobacco. It is unlikely that this particular blend of tobacco would be found any other place than Brazil. Okay. Let's look at the notes. This might be what I got wrong. In fact, hold on. Who deliberately watches a bird steal the tobacco seeds that has planted in the ground, you'll find there's a small pile of flaky ash characteristic of this tobacco near his feet. Okay, well if that's the case, it's what wet ashy footprints from size 7 shoes. Okay, I think that's right. Was the side door going to the kitchen open after the shot? Yes, it was, based on what he said, because he heard them open it. No, because he mentioned about how she didn't protest, and she said that he recommended this. So she didn't. Yes, we do, because that, and based on the book, and what we get there. No, none of the interrogated people.
We must have made an error, Watson. Let's check our answers. The questions should be answered yes or no, and justified by the evidence or testimony received during the investigation.
Well, hold on a moment. I do have a scoop for your tabloid. I can assure you that the Bronzeby was killed with a Wright revolver of a small caliber. Yes, and it's based on what he said, so that's dead on correct.
We must have made an error. The question should be answered yes or no, and justified by the evidence or testimony received during the investigation.
I'm dead set on making sure my deductions are within reason. I feel like I'm so close. It's just like a small detail I'm missing. This one I'm pretty focused on. Wait, hold on. Could the murderer escape through the stairs going to the second floor? I said no, because she said that she didn't see anyone. So that has to be right. The ashes found in the smoking room are from English cigarettes. I feel like this might be the one I have wrong. Oh. That's probably what it is then.
We must have made an error.
Damn it.
The questions should be answered yes or no and justified by the evidence or
Okay.
testimony received during the investigation.
Okay, this I'm pretty set on. This I'm pretty set on. Hold on. Yes. This one I'm pretty set on. This one I'm pretty set on. This one I'm pretty set on. This one I'm pretty set on.
We must have made an error. The
Damn
question
it.
should be answered yes or no and justified by the evidence or testimony received during the investigation. Maybe? We must have made an error. The question should be answered yes or no,
Okay,
and
now I'm
justified
getting
by the
confused
evidence
because
or testimony received during the investigation.
found in the smoking room are from English cigarettes. I mean, nothing else makes sense for this. Nothing else makes sense for this. I mean, nothing else makes sense for that option. Was the side door going to the kitchen open after the shot? I want to say yes, but he said he only heard the lid close. So that might be it. This is a no-brainer. No, she didn't, because he said that he insisted on changing things. And she even said he insisted, so this, no-brainer. No-brainer.
We must have made an error. The question should be answered yes or no, and justified by the evidence or testimony received during the investigation.
Yes? I don't know.
We must have made an error. The question should be answered yes or no, and justified by the evidence or testimony
I feel like I'm
received
so
during the
close.
investigation.
Is it just like something obvious? I'm not... No. Okay, I have tried answering this to the best of my ability, but I feel like what I'm missing now is just like one small detail. So I'm gonna see what the answers are. and see what I got right and didn't get right. Okay, so this one's yes, and I got that right. Okay, I got that one right as well. Okay, so this is the one. So when so that one's right. So I eventually got this one right. Let me try.
We must have made an error.
Nope.
The question should be answered yes or no, and justified by the evidence or testimony received during the investigation.
Oh. Hold on. This one must have been the one I was getting wrong. It says I had a conversation with, this guy. How does that?
We must have made an error. The question
Okay, I
should
must
be
have
answered
gotten a
yes
million
or
things
no,
wrong.
and justified by the evidence or testimony received during the investigation.
Okay, no. Got this one right. Oh my god, I'm stupid. I switched this out. I was on the right idea, though. I was on the right idea. Can't believe I switched this out. And it says I need to change this. Among the interrogated people... Huh. Well, I was very close.
It is simplicity itself, Watson.
Yes, it
We have
is. I
answered
just got a
all the
couple things
questions.
mixed around. No big deal. There was only one of them that didn't really make a whole lot of sense. I guess he can justify the person saying he got knocked down as they would have noted if the kitchen door was
My
open.
dear Lestrade, I congratulate you on the precise quality of your notes. It is true that you have missed everything of importance, but you have spared me the trouble of eliminating the trifles and pointed me in the right direction. Ah, I hear familiar steps on the stairs. Please be seated, Watson. You must be famished. Lestrade was kind enough to bring a copy of his notes, hoping it would be of assistance in this affair.
Indeed.
You can study them now and enjoy your meal. Please take your time, Watson, because bad digestion weakens our ability to reason.
Holmes, you will get no argument from me, as this dish is delicious.
We will go to Sherringford Hall with Lestrade when you are finished with your meal.
I must read the documents Holmes gave me.
The crime. Reported investigation. The case of Sherringford Hall. Inspector in charge Lestrade. 14th of October, 1897. So this is a year before the events of Mystery of the Mummy. From my understanding. Before 11 o'clock in the evening, Sir Melvin Bromsby, engineer, architect, and contractor of the renown, was slain by a single gunshot in his mansion, Sherringford Hall. The crime, the author of which is still undetermined, took place in the ballroom during the reception arranged by the victim in honor of his daughter's return to England. She has spent the last several years finishing school on the continent. Despite the presence of 100 witnesses, no precise testimony was obtained regarding the exact circumstances of this horrific act. Nevertheless, based upon certain evidences, there is a presumption of suspicion towards the daughter of the victim, Miss Lavinia Bromsby. Report by Inspector Lestrade, 14th of October, 1897. Instrument of the crime. The bullet extracted from the corpse of the victim corresponds to the caliber of the revolver found in Miss Lavinia Bromsby's purse. This purse found on the floor was near the door from which Miss Lavinia Bromsby first appeared after the mortal shot was fired. All of the witnesses agree that the sound of the shot originated at or near this very same doorway. The revolver is old, small-bore Wright, which is also a highly reliable weapon. This would explain why the only shot fired was mortal, despite a distance of several dozen feet of a difficult angle. Miss Lavinia claims that the victim personally gave her this revolver before the crime for the purpose of protection against some unnamed threat. This account can be supported by the fact that these models are impossible to find on the continent where Miss Lavinia has spent these last years. Premeditation can be excluded if she is found to be the murder. Report by Inspector Lestrade, 14th October, 1897. The motive. The victims, even if had few or even no friends, still might not have enemies capable of committing this act. His strong unpopularity among his domestics was compensated by the attractive wages he paid them. His business partners spoke of him as a tough but fair player according to the criterions of this environment. The facts that he spent long years in India and was solely devoted to his business precludes any crime of jealousy or passion. Finally, the modus operandi, is that what they say? Doesn't correspond to the typical revenge killing by this or that Hindu sect, though things do happen. Okay. The motive then must apply to his holdings or something quite personal. Another line of reasoning that points to Miss Lavinia Bromsby. According to H. Grimble, the partner of Sir Bromsby, her relationship with her father had become so strained that Sir Bromsby visited his daughter only once during this past 6 years. A local constable must contact Mr. H. Fowlett, the attorney of Sir Bromsby, in order to recover the essential parts of his last will and testament, if it exists. Report by Inspector Lestrade, 14th of October, 1897. The development with regard to the distance of the angle of shooting would be reasonable to suppose that the only expert marksman could have succeeded in making such a shot, but the factor of probability still exists and admits other possibilities. The testimony of the group of cabmen who were in the ideal place to observe such matters saw no one leave through the service door after the shooting up until the time when one of the domestics locked it from the outside. All the windows are equipped with thick bars, and the fortuitous presence of the maid at the stairwell indicates that no one ascended to that floor. The testimony of Miss Lambert, the governess, indicates that she noticed only 2 people absent from the ballroom during Sir Bromsby's arrival: Mr. Horace Fowlett, the victim's attorney, and Miss Lavinia Bromsby. The domestics had been specifically instructed that all the guests were to be present during Sir Bromsby's entrance. I have been persuaded by all accounts that anyone who has left the ballroom has returned before Sir Bromsby's entrance. Since Horace Fowlett hasn't gone through the gates of the mansion of Sherringford Hall, the only person whose movements who were unaccounted for at the time of the shooting is Miss Lavinia Bromsby. The chivalrous testimony of a young infantry officer who has confirmed that he saw her standing at the threshold of the door can be the only reason for not charging her with murder. As Miss Bromsby was in the state of deep shock last evening, according to the local doctor who examined her, her interview was delayed until today. Scotland Yard report. Police report. General information about the man called Sir Melvin Bromsby. No official involvement at a defendant in any criminal or civil matter. No appearances at a witness in a criminal or civil law code. Compliant as to the robbery committed at Fair Stand in St. Bartholomew on July 1861. Judgment of the court was laudable for the crown. Melvin Bromsby. Dear Sherlock, here is all the information that we know about the late Sir Melvin Bromsby. Born in 1842 in Staffordshire of the modest family, he finished his studies of architecture and civil engineering owing to the scholarship and financial assistance of his elder sister, who owned a florist's shop. After he was awarded his diploma, he was employed by a small firm which he later left for a large enterprise, the Salinger Company. In 1872, he was sent to India to assist in the construction of a bridge for the army. At the end of this project in 1874, he left his position with Salinger and founded his own enterprise in Bombay. At the same time, he courted Carlotta Campbell, the second daughter of the Colonel Campbell, OBE, commander-in-chief of an important local garrison. The military appreciated Bromsby's straightforward mess and business acumen. Thus, the armory entrusted him with many contracts for constructing barracks and other types of work. In 1877, he was married to Carlotta. His business flourished, and he hired a young accountant, Mr. Grimble, who later became Bromsby's personal assistant. An ideal candidate for the position, Grimble excelled at his various administrative tasks. Sir Bromsby's business has continued to prosper over the years. In 1879, Carlotta Bromsby Nee Campbell died, giving birth to their daughter, Lavinia. Bromsby's business enjoys great success, however. The fact that he has been rewarded nearly all of the Army's civilian contract has aroused the jealousy and suspicion of other British businessmen in India. It has been rumored that he gained his fortune through the exploitation of his Indian laborers and British workmen, poor working conditions, and miserable wages. In 1884, upon learning of the death of his elder sister, he decided to return home and prepare the transfer of his business interests to England. He also invested his money in several cement factories, which permitted him to reduce his costs further and thus increase his profits. In 1891, he sent his daughter to study at a finishing school near St. Moritz in Switzerland. She has been returned to England several days ago. He was awarded a knighthood in 1892. There are several cases where his name has been mentioned because of the suggested fraud with his contracts and ill use of convict laborers at his factories. Such practices are common in London business circles, and his wealth allowed him to avoid scrutiny by the courts. Very common thing we would see today as well. Thus, when his behavior is weighed within the current climate of commercial morality, he is neither angel nor demon. Assuming his business assets are included, his current fortune would be measured in the tens of thousands of pounds. That would make him one of the wealthiest contractors in Britain. I wish you good luck in this case. Lestrade. Okay, so what we basically get from all this is kind of like what we've already been talking about. Everybody's suspecting his daughter, alright? She has the most to gain from this. Obviously, she had the pistol in her bag. Of course, we know that what we found was gunpowder and a lot of things that indicate that someone was hiding in the hallway over where she wasn't at. We also know that the assailant couldn't have escaped through to the second stairs because that one lady was there, because we can attest that she also was in the kitchen with the one person. So my assumption right now from what we know is all the evidence is trying to point towards, all the basic evidence is trying to point towards her being the person of the murder. Alright, the person responsible. But of course, based off the evidence we found in the other hallway over, my presumption is that powder on the wall indicates his height, all that evidence, and that someone was hiding behind that knighthood. The knight armor. Now we of course know that everyone ran out that door, as seen by the footsteps. So my guess is that someone hid behind there, shot the pistol, ran through the kitchen door, and opened that lid for some reason. I'm not sure if that was actually an escape route. But, like we deducted in the questionings in the quiz, someone didn't open the door because we talked about how everyone ran there. So who opened the door? Who opened that lid then, is the question. And what was the ash in the other rooms? What was all that stuff we found in the dressing room? We have a feeling that the accountant is suspicious. This French person who did a bunch of rearranging is suspicious. Obviously is trying to pin it on the daughter, but we have evidence to suggest that maybe that wasn't the case. So I'm willing to believe it wasn't the daughter, and we know he or she must have escaped through a different means. Maybe out the exact doorway that everyone was running, like he got lost in the crowd. But that's pretty much what we're putting together right now.
All this is very interesting. According to the evidence, it seems that the shooter was not in the ballroom or the corridor. Where was he then?
Are you finished, Watson? Shall we go? Let us return to Sherringford Hall. Cabby!
Cabby! Stellar gameplay. Of course, what's fun is like the deducing and putting stuff together. I was having a lot of fun answering those questions because I thought I was actually doing something. I was very close too. Obviously, I looked up because I got something mixed around. Like one of the questions answers didn't make a whole lot of sense to me.
Sirs, please, go right in. Please wait here, gentlemen. I will see if Miss Lavinia is receiving callers. She's in her room.
So we're just looking around while we're waiting. All right, cool.
Well, Mr. Grimble, I didn't expect to see you here at this hour.
I am worried about Miss Lavinia, needless to say. I also thought I might learn something of interest about the investigation. This difficulty, if it persists, can do great harm to the business.
Sir Bromsby and Miss Lavinia had rather strained relations, it seems.
Well, Sir Bromsby and Miss Lavinia have never got on very well. Of late, their distance had grown due to the influence of several incidents.
What sort of incidents, precisely?
I do remember one instance in India, where Sir Bromsby attacked a friend of Miss Lavinia. He was our native cartman's son. It seems he spilled a jug full of water that was intended for Sir Bromsby to wash his face. Bromsby began cursing and thrashing the boy before his daughter's very eyes. Miss Lavinia took her friend's part and spoke to her father most rudely.
The devil, you say? What occurred next?
There is no one in the whole of India who would have dared address Sir Bromsby in such a manner.
I don't know what it is about Sherlock, but he just sounds so sarcastic.
For the entire day.
Sorry, guys.
The next day, he
But he's
fired
not.
the carter. But despite these incidents, I am still sure that Miss Lavinia sincerely loved her father.
I'm sorry, but I have to go.
All right, as you wish. I shall remain here.
I just love the talking and all that. Like, it's just... I'm a big guy for, like, history, kind of time period games like this, getting to see how Victorian London... What is fictionally? Hey, what's up? How you doing? Sorry if I didn't see your message until, like, just now. K all day. I was getting really into the story, but no, I'm a big stickler for, not stickler, but fan of like timepieces, and Victorian London is one of the most interesting to me.
Closed.
Oh, hello. Which one? I'm willing to assume it's Kelsey and not Hannah.
Closed. I have to leave you, sirs. I need to verify certain things.
The more we consider the facts of this affair, the more mysterious it becomes.
The important thing is to be precise and rigorous in your analysis. But at Scotland Yard, we know this well. Reminds me a bit of bad business I resolved. I believe it involved a theft of sticks from a polo team.
I have myself engaged in this sport but a few years ago.
Really?
Why am I
the
listening
sport
to
of polo,
this?
Mr. Grimble? No. You cannot imagine the benefits of this sport.
I want to
To
get back to my
achieve
investigation.
perfect
I don't care
form
about
union,
them.
Man with horse.
A little like the waltz, eh?
Exactly. Except that with this sport, mounting is at full speed, which complicates things singularly. I don't follow you.
The team from Brixton, in my opinion, is the finest example of how polo should be played.
Perhaps they may well be. But what would you say about that last match of the Old Goats Rangers?
They were absolutely splendid. But what of the Brixton team?
Weren't they the cause
I don't
of some
care about
ruckus
any of this.
about a matter of corruption?
Okay, I was about to say, like, I think they're just trying to just fill the air. I guess it's like, let's go let the detective do the real work, and we'll get back to this later. Okay. We should go first. Let's go into the dressing room. We found a lot of things there last time. I'm certain. What's this? It's like a purse.
A handbag of Lavinia Bromsby. I do not favour ransacking a lady's personal property, but I think she will be understanding.
Is that illegal? I don't know if that's like illegal for this time. Let's unpack it. Let's see what's in there.
Let's
Read.
read for the London Opera.
What's this one? Let's read what we got. Dear Miss Lavinia, excuse my boldness and do believe my most sincere condolences and honorable affections in this terrible time. I cannot excuse myself. If I allow you to face all this on your own, I ordered my valet to move my positions to the Queen Arms, which is the nearest inn to Sherringford Hall. I would greatly be honored if you could allow me to make myself useful to you at my new lodgings. I am but a few minutes away should you require my assistance. I took care to forget my gloves at your mansion so that my visit to call on you would not invite any undue speculations or gossips. Sincerely and eternally yours, Lieutenant Harrington. Okay. So we know that white cloth had something to do with Lieutenant Harrington at this point, because we found that and he's talking about missing some gloves. Then we can probably deduct that it's this guy's gloves, or at least that white cloth is. We also found that it was dirty, so if some of the dirtiness was matching some of the gunpowder and stuff, like, this guy's looking mighty suspicious. And this poor woman's dad just got murdered, and he's trying to like slide in. Like, bro, that's not how it works. Like, you can't be trying to date this dude's daughter after he dies. Like, it's not the time. It's not the time for that. Alright. I think that was all here. I wonder if there's anything over here. The music is just fantastic. I feel it's just so calming. Like, it actually makes me want to think. Maybe that's just classical music. Okay, so this was like the smoking room. Ah, looks like we found his gloves too.
To whom does this belong?
Lieutenant Harrington. We also keep in mind is we found something to a fake uniform. looks like they cleaned up in here. Let's go in the kitchen.
May I come in?
Well, oh, take that!
Whoa, dude, chill.
Pardon me. It is already quite dead, you know.
Yeah,
Oh,
man.
you frighten me. I have a case of the nerves, you understand?
Dude, I
cannot
was
find
right
my
here.
bottles.
Like, you tell me you can't see me, you're like this? Like, is your peripheral vision that crappy? Like... Okay, dude.
On the table.
No, not those. That is a poor vintage. The 2 bottles that the old crap, God rest his soul, ordered up from London for the party. Both were 18-year-old whiskey, perfect for the digestion and the heart's sorrows.
I agree.
And who could have taken them?
I'm sure that the barman from Hartford stumbled them. Who else would know to take those particular bottles over the others?
Valid
good.
point, I guess.
I will leave you to your chicken then.
That's it.
I'm not really seeing anything, so we'll probably need to investigate some other areas. Let's see if we can go outside. No. See if we can actually go upstairs. That might be actually a new area for us to investigate. It's probably locked.
Closed.
Come on, Sherlock, aren't you a man of all
No,
trades?
I need more information. No, I need...
Well, at least we can talk to Miss Lavinia.
I feel quite ready to answer your questions now, Mr. Holmes. Yesterday I was not in my right senses. I do want to encourage you on the sound advice of Mr. Grimble. He explained to me that everything my father built during his entire life may collapse unless this gossip ceases and this matter is resolved. Do you agree, Mr. Holmes?
Whatever the truth is, I will reveal it.
I feel quite ready to answer your question.
Whatever... First of all, it is necessary for me to know your acts and your movements during this unfortunate event.
First I attended my appearance in the powder room. Then, as my father requested, I was standing quietly just inside the ballroom. I powdered my face one last time, while everyone, including myself, was watching my father.
That coincides with the powder we found.
I heard this noise from behind me, and then I saw my father stagger and fall. Oh, my dear lord. So I ran to his side and found that he was dead.
What was your relationship with your father?
We barely saw or even wrote to one another for 6 years.
Yeah, I would call that
Met me
strange.
upon my return was not the man I remembered. Something in his eyes had changed. There was a wariness there, and perhaps even some unexplained anxiety.
So was he expecting this then?
Forgive me, but it seems Lieutenant Harrington has made himself responsible for your care.
Oh, he has proved himself to be most gallant and considerate. I have no friends here, other than Mr. Grimble. Mr. Harrington neither requested nor expected any recognition for his kind interventions, and was most attentive yesterday evening.
Girl, you don't need no man in your life. What the hell are you talking about? Sounds to me like he's trying to swoop in and get some of the inheritance money.
Thank you for answering my questions, miss.
Oh, it is me who should be thanking you.
As I mentioned to you before, if this investigation is to proceed properly, it'll be necessary to examine your father's personal documents. May we see his office? I suppose Sir Bromsby kept his papers in this drawer.
Watch out!
Good God!
It must be one of Fowlett's inventions. Sir Bromsby mentioned he had asked his lawyer to devise security measures to protect his private documentation. I remember now that Fowlett has a unique passion for mechanizations and automatons. I had no idea what kind of devices he had created.
How are you not
Inspector
going to
Lestrade,
mention that
I give you
until
leave
now?
to tend to your appearance. I doubt you can return to the yard in such disrepair. I will now examine this room according to my methods.
Bro said, I'ma wait till the moment of.
A page from this book has been marked. Let's examine it.
Medieval French art. The first examples of this art can, from now on named crude colored woodcuts, date back to the first decade of the Middle Ages. At that time, there was neither any artistic nor other rationale for hiding one picture inside another. The motivations were sometimes subversive because certain subjects were forbidden to be artistically represented. Today, this technique is still rarely used, and the great majority of the crude-colored woodcuts conceal only animals or joyful personages and Baroque landscapes. So does that mean something might be hidden? Letter for Fowlett to Bromsby. My dear friend, I would not miss this reception at any cost. I cannot help but envision the sight of Miss Lavinia's eyes when you make your announcement. Fear not, I have not received any bad news from my friend, the customs official. I will see you then, on the day after tomorrow, your friend, Horace Fowlett. P.S. This book will certainly help you understand my preferences in art that you found so debatable during your last visit. One more challenge. Okay. Suspicious.
I need something. I need something. A Masonic symbol, no doubt.
A Freemason symbol? We're obviously missing a picture. Something's cut out.
The young Lavinia, with her grandfather, no doubt. It is the pieces of the English edition of the Indian newspaper.
Remember, I still have the original puzzle concerning the code in my 55 as the numbers to be found by adding... Translated from French. Huh.
A remarkable portrait of the late Sir Bromsby.
I
Ideal
knew
spot
it.
for a hiding place.
I knew it.
Obviously impossible. Obviously impossible. Let us see whether we can find other evidence. Let us see whether we can find other evidence. Let us see whether...
Okay, so I'm missing something. Okay, I'm not sure where this evidence is, to be honest. Oh. Well, I put it over there, it just wasn't popping up. Oh my gosh.
This bridge is quite impressive. It must have been a considerable undertaking.
Look here. This message just came for me. 2 days ago, Mr. Horace Fowlett was seen leaving for the North Country. The constable for the town of Flatton, where the solicitor resides, obtained this information from Fowlett's neighbours.
I have a bad feeling about this, Watson. What would you say to a short jaunt to Flatton to finish off our day?
No objection at all, Holmes.
Cabby!
Hello, gentlemen. Constable Fletcher here.
Good day, Constable. Can you help us?
Yes, Inspector Lestrade of Scotland Yard wired me about your arrival and instructed me to do as I would with the inspector himself.
Damn right.
Would you be so good to take us to the neighbours who spoke of that night?
Come with me. Here we are.
Excellent!
Excellent.
Graham, this is a detective from London. He would like to hear what Mr. Fowlett told you that night.
So Mr. Fowlett left?
Yes, he made his departure the day before yesterday, in the night. Not that this is the first time he's behaved in such a way. Anyway, he's not like others, and it didn't seem odd to see him leave at that hour, despite the heavy downpour.
And how is he, this Fowlett?
I'd call him an eccentric, you see. Not that I have anything bad to say about the man. His place is full of baubles with springs and mechanisms. There have been explosions. Yes, upon my word, explosions. But the next morning, there he'd be, always ready to wish me a good day.
So obviously he does stuff with technology.
Did you actually see him depart?
Well, a shutter on the barn had come loose and was beating about in the wind. I went out to set it straight in that moonless night. Then there he was. I saw him leaving. I shouted out, "Hey there, Mr. Fowlett!" He waved and shouted something about leaving for the north for a fortnight.
Do you know where he went?
I couldn't quite make him out with all the wind and rain, but it seemed to me he left on some business matter. I think a fellow came to talk to him about something.
Interesting.
Well, it may be nothing, but if you think that the things he has in there might explode, you should better go and check.
Do you know a way into Fowlett's house?
Here's the key to the door that he left with my wife. If you don't mind, I won't accompany you. I prefer to remain alive and in good health a good bit longer.
Understandable.
You say he had a visitor?
Oh, I don't know. It seems to me I saw someone at his place at nightfall. But people often visited old Fowlett at odd times. Fellows who brought him pieces of I don't know what for his contraptions. There was also a friend who often came by. I think his name was Sir Glumsby or Flomsby. But it couldn't have been him, because he's much taller than the chap I saw.
You say he had a...
Oh, I don't know. It seems to me I saw someone at his place at nightfall. But...
Good. I will go see what I can find. Wait for me here.
As you wish.
Yes, Mr. Holmes?
Constable Fletcher, I must ask that you allow me to enter alone. Do you agree?
Yes, Mr. Holmes.
And now, Watson, if you could be so kind to return to the station and speak with the station master. Question him until you are satisfied that you have a detailed description of the party who took the last train to the north 2 days ago.
My pleasure.
As soon as you are done, please return here. Keep close watch, for I may need your assistance inside. Wait for us.
All right.
I have a... Oh, look at that fucking jog. I have a strange feeling about this, so I am going to save. Look at this friggin' jog.
Close.
Dun 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 dun.
I need
I'm
something.
sorry, man. It makes me laugh.
I need something. I need something. Footsteps, size 10.
So they're bigger than another footstep. Totally forgot I had the key. But I'm glad we went back here and checked this out.
My word, I can't see anything. Ah, Fowlet liked his jests. I need to be cautious. These items may contain traps, such as those found in Bromsby's office.
Because we can't just have a normal person that we're investigating right now. Has to be a person that would leave traps. As if this was a written mystery detective novel. Ooh. He's gonna be like, I need something.
Size 6.
Nothing matching up with our assailant.
What an odd house.
Bro, that alone, no. No thanks. Done. Not finding out who killed the dude. Not worth it.
These paintings are from the town of Epinal.
How do you know?
There might be another drawing hidden among these pictures. Let's examine them carefully.
Got me looking at this all weird.
I need a token to play this automaton.
Dude, this is the thing that'll give me nightmares. Can we go back to looking at the pictures?
Look, what's this?
What toy?
These books warrant a closer look.
So can I take a closer look?
Gin!
Gin!
Blood. Blood. Gin!
Yeah, that's
Blood.
creepy.
I need something.
When in doubt, magnify.
White flaky ash.
Okay. So we can connect the white flaky ash with the same white flaky ash we found at the hall. Nothing else? Gotta love this. Okay, well, let me see what time it is. Okay, I can keep going for a little bit. I was hoping to end this at around midnight, so.
I can see a faint gleam.
I'm gonna go back. Dude, this jog is killing me. Okay, I don't want to progress anything without finding anything, so I'm gonna see what's the deal with these paintings. Okay, I almost forgot a footprint. Right here.
It is a size 7.
So are we not able to select something we see? Because it says that we can see a deer right here. I can kind of see the deer. See the bear right there, I guess. Is it crab right here? What's this last one supposed to have? Oh, I see the eagle. See the eagle right there? It's right there. Neato. Dude, I feel like this thing's gonna kill me. Okay, well, we can't do anything with this. So I'm gonna move along. I just want to make sure we didn't miss anything.
I must light the lamp. I can't see a thing. Ah, now I see better.
Okay, it says the bookshelf. We can open up books for it, but it didn't. Hey Seth, how about you check your notes? Okay, so that was the picture that we missed. And then here's a piece of poetry that we got from the shelves. Translated from French Jean de La Fontaine Fables, The Villager and the Serpent. Aesop tells of a peasant charitable, but not too wise. One winter's day was traveling around the land he lended. He saw a serpent stretched out in the snow, cold and frozen, paralyzed, having little time to live. The villager took him home, and without considering the cost of such an action, laid him out before the fire, warmed him and revived him. The frozen serpent began to sense the warmth, which revived his soul as well as his evil nature. He lifted his head a bit and whistled, coiled his body, and then struck against his benefactor, his savior, and his father. Ingrate, said the peasant, is thus you repay me? You will die. And with these words in righteous rage, he took a knife and sliced the beast, making 3 serpents with 2 cuts, a trunk, a head, and a tail. The evil one tried to rejoin himself, but it was to no avail. Charity is a virtue, but be careful toward whom. There's no point in showing it to ingrates who seal their own doom. Pretty dark and mysterious, don't you think? Alright, well, I think I'm gonna end it there for the stream today. I think we got a lot. We have that whole room to investigate next.
A pheasant and a serpent. The very symbols found on Sir Bromsby's speech.
Okay, well. We are going to save right there. Alright, good night. Thanks for watching the stream. I appreciate it. But yeah, I'm going to end it right there. I kind of went to what I wanted to before. I'm going to cut to the end screen. Like it says in the stream description, this will be the last stream I do for the entire week. I streamed a lot last week, and I think because of that, I feel comfortable with kind of leaving early to go visit my girlfriend. I haven't seen her in a while, so I kind of want to get down there as soon as possible, if I can. So I decided to at least stream tonight and get what I wanted recorded tonight so I could edit the videos I wanted to edit while I was visiting her. So I got everything I have. In terms of planning for the stream and everything else YouTube related, if there's any time I will stream again, it probably might be next Monday, this game again. I'm really enjoying this game. The story is really catching my attention. In fact, honestly, putting together all the pieces of evidence and answering those questions was really fun. Even though I got really confused on one of them, I was able to really answer most of them based off the evidence we found. And I kind of like how this game is really designed to tell. It wants you to piece things together. It's encouraging you to piece things together with those questions, and it requires you to find all the evidence before moving on. The guide I was reading to help me when I get stuck tells me that the only place where a glitch might happen is in the first area, but we should have gotten everything. So the game won't let you progress unless you get everything, which is really linear, and of course kind of defeats the fun of you being a good investigator. But like, as you've probably noticed if you watched the last stream, I miss a couple things because like they're really small details. Well, some people might pick up some of the things, and some people might see things over others, but getting to take all the evidence and piece together is actually really fun, so I'm kind of excited to kind of do it again the next time around based on what we find here at Horace Fowlett's house. As you can probably tell, I already kind of pieced together what's going on. The lieutenant is kind of sus, and I don't think it's the girl at all. Obviously, the shooter came from the other door based off the evidence we found there. The lieutenant's looking very suspicious, this French guy's looking very suspicious, and Horace Fowlett's looking very suspicious. So my deduction is Horace is working with these other guys. I'm not sure how the lieutenant plays into it. I I know who's exactly involved, but I'm just not sure how they all played into it. But for now, the French guy helping out the hall's looking very suspicious. Lieutenant's looking very weird to me. And this Horace guy seems to like trinkets, especially that creepy clown. Jesus. But yeah, this is really fun, especially piecing all the evidence together with those questions. It really makes you kind of like go back and kind of see what people said so you can deduct and get to a conclusion. It's really set up kind of like how you would expect a Sherlock Holmes game to be set up. So I can definitely see why this game in particular gets a lot of praise in the Sherlock Holmes games. Mystery of the Mummy was interesting and fun to a degree once you kind of got the gist of it, but those were like really hard and it was old. But this, I see why a lot of people praise this game over Crimes and Punishment when it comes to the Frogware games for Sherlock Holmes. So I'm excited to play this again. If I play, the next stream might be this next Monday, but I don't want to guarantee that for certain because I'm not really sure, have anything set in stone, but I might be working a new job. I might still be down there visiting her. Like I said, I don't see her often, so I might be doing that. But do expect some content on the YouTube channel to be posted. I'll probably have this post next Sunday. Obviously, on the YouTube channel to stay there forever. But for now, I would expect, if you're looking for me to stream, check next Monday. And if not, expect the Thursday through Saturday gap I would usually do. But if you're watching on Twitch, check out the YouTube channel. This will be posted within the week that I stream this. I try to do that consistently. And for the rest of any YouTube comment, I should be finishing Sherlock Holmes and the Mystery of the Mummy walkthrough tomorrow. The video should be posting up tomorrow, I believe. Other than that, I will be finishing Mortal Kombat content for Deadly Elias and beginning Deception. So check that out, guys. Anyway, if you're watching on YouTube, check out the Twitch. Play this with me live. Really appreciate it. In fact, if I would get help from people in the viewing audience rather than looking at a guide, would also be very fun too. You guys can kind of help piece things together with me. Be great. Anyway, thanks, guys. Y'all have a good night.
Get the you could.